Okay, I'm just going to talk about doing a regular post now. There are a bunch of things we could conceivably go over, but I'll just talk about a few of them. So here's post. Um, you may want to consider sometimes using a featured image rather than just putting your images all in here. This is called the WYSIWYG. So rather than doing that, you could use a featured image. And the advantage there will be that the image will, well, the main thing is in a post, what that will do for you is let you make it stretch all the way across if that mattered and you had an image where that was going to work well. Um, the only other difference to note is the featured image will appear above the headline. So sometimes maybe you'll want that, and sometimes maybe you won't. Um, so let's say set the featured image. Now for a featured image, you're going to want a large image. So you'd want to just make sure that you've uploaded one that's pretty big. This one you can see is 1280 by 955. That's probably big enough. You could actually, for the featured image, even bigger is probably better, but that's okay. And if you want to add a caption, you can. And now we've got a featured image. It's not going to show up in here, but it will show up at the top of our post. Actually, let's publish this and just take a look at it. Oh, so there we go. Now it's at the top, and it's above the headline. And now let's make it that super wide version. So that would be super wide. Update. View post. And there it is. It stretches all the way across. If see, if for some reason this image, maybe we want to have this win, well, let's see, we want this maybe more at the bottom, or the bottom part of the image we want to show up. You probably have to just experiment with this a little bit, see how it defaults to center. If we change this to bottom alignment, it'll change the way the image sits in there, so you'll see some parts of it and not others. So there we go. We probably don't want that, but maybe you did. Let's go back to editing this post. And now we sort of write some text, paragraphs, and okay. If you wanted to use some sort of heading or styling, I would suggest not putting in lots of different styles and so on, making things italic, making things bold, adding in different colors. There are already a bunch of different styles on the site. In a way, this goes maybe more for your book page and your home page than a post page where there are fewer styles, but I think it will just look better in general if you don't introduce lots of different things. So I would suggest just, stick with like one kind of heading, say like, here's a little subheading. I would just like make that probably an H2 rather than an H1. And your post will be a sort of big heading, and the subheading will be a little bit smaller. Let's take a look at that. Actually, maybe we even want to not say 2. Maybe 3 will be better. Let's just look at that. I guess you can make a decision based on how it looks or what the content is. But I wouldn't mix around too much with this. I would sort of stick with, in one post, I wouldn't introduce more than one kind of heading. Within this, I would just try to be pretty consistent with it. And I would also probably shy away from like having lots of different, bold and italic and so on. I mean, obviously you're free to do that however you want, but I would recommend probably keeping the text largely just aligned to the left and kind of leave it the way that it is. And if you want something to be highlighted because it's an important subheading, make it like an H3 or maybe an H2. And if you have something that's a block quote and you want it to be treated as a block quote, you can select that and it will be treated a little different. If it's not a block quote and you can put some just text down here and you want it to something to stand out, some unique word, sure. If it's, I would say every once in a while, maybe you could do that. And I would also suggest not having lots of different colors, just a black, a gray. We have this kind of red standout color that we're using. And then, of course, there's a blue color for links. I think more colors just ends up creating a sort of cluttered, slightly less finished looking design. I can see that you're using some different colors. If you want to do that, that's fine. I mean, it's your site. I will be happy to, I can add another color in up here for you to choose. I actually just updated it so that it'll be a little simpler. That's my hope anyway. I'm not trying to be controlling. I can add in an orange if you really want an orange in there. you can still create your own color if you want, I believe. Can you? No, you cannot. So if you do want that, I'll add it back in. But I think just having a few colors, and you'll sort of know that way that you'll have a sort of consistent palette throughout the site will look better for you. So then you would just select that and choose your color, in that one case. And what's another thing to point out about posts that's kind of useful? Let's say we had another quote here. Let me just take a quote. There we go. All right. And we've got some more text. I'll just copy and paste this. Okay, so this quote here, if we wanted, we could treat it as like a pull quote, and that would be like a pull quote left. And now, it doesn't look like anything in here. You're going to have to go look at the preview, but if you want to just make sure, yep, it says pull quote left, so we're good. So we're going to say update, and we will view the post. And now we've got a pull quote that comes over to the left here. This actually looks pretty terrible. We don't want to have this initial cap. So what happened there? Oh, I know. We want in the block quote to say remove initial cap. I could probably make it so that it automatically removes the initial cap for the block quote. But it may be that sometimes you have a long block quote and maybe it's good. Let's see it now. Even this initial cap doesn't look so good because this paragraph is sort of short. So that might be a case where we'd want to remove that initial cap. The reason that there's no initial cap on this pull quote, and there is other times, is because I believe we copied and pasted it in, so it copied in that as some sort of special format. Or maybe that's not true. Maybe it only shows up if we say we want there to be one. I can't remember. But hopefully that gives you a little bit of information about how to do a few additional things with a post. And obviously I'm flexible to make changes or continue to work on this. It's like not really a finished product, just sort of an ongoing site that we can continue to change some styles for. And as you work with it, if you discover something's frustrating or gee, you're always wanting to remove that initial cap or you're always wanting to add it in a certain case, let me know and we can just sort of build that in. There you go.